One is a horror classic in the macabre and German Expressionism from F.W. Murnau. The other is a take from Robert Eggers, a master of folklore in the modern age. Nosferatu. They reslayed it? Or reflayed it? Dude, we're going on 8 years and we still don't have this shit figured out.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of They Remade It. I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your host, Jacob.
And I'm your guest, Stephanie.
Steph's back.
Hell yeah!
Feels fitting for Halloween.
It's a spooky horror time.
My speciality.
It's nice to be doing some actual genuine spookiness this time around versus my, let's say, tepid pick last time around.
Well, we had to do it.
Yeah. God, I don't miss The Mummy. I just don't.
You guys did The Mummy last time?
Yep, the original and the Brendan Fraser one.
Who's in the original one?
Boris Karloff is the Mummy.
Oh my god. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. It's pretty dry.
Terrible. Love it.
It's one of the weaker ones. But we had to finish off the Universal monsters, and then after that we were like, well, now what do we do? There aren't any other horror movies. So we're kind of going back to Universal Town.
Yep. So, of course, then almost immediately, whenever we did the episode, they then released a trailer for The Bride, which is now going to be a remake of The Bride of Frankenstein, which brings us right back in.
Right, but we knew that was coming for a while. We just didn't have a firm date.
And I'm going to assume you guys will do an episode when the new Frankenstein movie comes out.
You know, that's fair. Although that one might be worth just like having for ourselves.
We could do it with I, Frankenstein, maybe, since we already did a Frankenstein episode.
I just do it and remade it again.
I think honestly you're gonna have to.
We'll think about it.
You're gonna have to see the movie and see which one it draws the most from. Because in my opinion, and granted, I am no Frankenstein expert because I really hate the Frankenstein movies. This is the only one that actually understands Frankenstein. So I kind of think this one's gonna be in a class of its own.
I like to believe it'll draw the most from Young Frankenstein.
It could. I'll reserve opinions definitely until I see it. Mr. Del Toro is a very pleasant man, but he's also very hit or miss for me. So
yeah, a little bit.
I'll see. But yeah, we've been going off on horrors and whatever. So let's do the what we've been watching, engaging with here recently. If you want to go first, Steph, we can start with you. Special privilege.
So this fall, I've been doing kind of an introductory horror thing. I set up a projector in my backyard, and every week I have friends over, and we watch some horror movies. It started in September. We did Practical Magic and The Craft. And then the second week was Saw and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I see a theme on that one.
Yeah, no, there's a theme with each of these. You know, witches, gory nonsense. And then the following week was Friday the 13th and the original Halloween. So, you know, some classic slashers. And I've got so many plans this coming up. So we're actually capping it off this Friday with Scream and Cabin in the Woods. So the theme with the last two is kind of okay, you've got a feel for horror. Now you're going to get the meta horror. So,
all right, you got a whole system down. That's way better than we ever do.
Well, so a close friend of mine told me that she and I are actually the ones who went to see Nosferatu together this last winter. And as we were leaving the theater, she made the comment that she wanted to get into horror. She just didn't know how. And it's like, oh, babe, I so got you. And I said, once fall hits, you want to get in the spooky season, the spooky mood. And she started seeing someone. Obviously, I've got my boyfriend Tony, and we've been doing a lot of movies that I'm the only one that's seen. And it's been really, really fun to like see them kind of try to puzzle through these movies. Watching Friday the 13th, oh my gosh, I was hackling, trying to hold it in as they're like, oh my god, it's that guy, it's the bus driver, no, it's the cop, no, it's like, you keep saying you're never gonna get it, it's literally in impossible to guess the killer for the original Friday the 13th movie unless you have seen it or Scream before. If you've seen Scream, it gives it away. But none of them had seen Scream, or the one person that had seen Scream didn't remember that part. So,
Okay, that's actually a really good window into what level of horror experience we're dealing with, because that's not even like I haven't seen a lot of horror movies. That's like completely outside the realm of horror, because just forget Mrs. Voorhees for a second. Put her out of your mind. Just forget that. You're going in and watching Friday the 13th the first time. I wouldn't feel like there would be people trying to guess who the killer is. I would assume people would just be like, oh, it's Jason Voorhees. Not like, oh, is it the bus driver? That's like wild to me.
So, you guys remember in college when the first October We Are Friends hit, our sophomore year, and you're like, oh, we're going to watch this movie, and we're going to watch this movie, the whole Babadook thing with Owen Wilson, and I'm sitting there like, guys, I don't watch horror movies. And you're like, yeah, but, and it's like, no, the only horror movie I had seen before my 20th birthday, I saw 3 technically, even though I walked out of Jeepers. So Jeepers Creepers, walked out halfway through because I was too scared. My sister forced me to sit through The Haunting of Molly Hartley, and I watched Insidious with friends in high school. That was it. Those were the only horror movies I had ever seen. The only reference I had for Halloween, for Chucky, it's not even Chucky, Child's Play, for Friday the 13th was other pop culture references. So even going in, the first time I watched Friday the 13th, I was like, no one said the name Jason. I know Jason's the killer. Who the hell is Jason? Does Jason not come in till the end? Well, yeah, but it's not even Jason in the first one. And the name Jason doesn't even come out until the reveal. So even if you go into Friday the 13th knowing, okay, it's Jason, you're waiting for someone to be called Jason. And it doesn't happen.
You just take for granted the knowledge that you're gifted just being in a scene. It's like those blogs that guy was writing, where it's like, my wife has no experience with video games whatsoever, and playing them with her, it's crazy, just the inherent knowledge when you've been in something for so long that you just take for granted.
I don't know if you remember, but the time that we played Until Dawn, I had the controller for about 5 minutes, and you said jump, and I said, how do you jump? And you said, you press this button. I said, where is that button? Because it was the first time I had held a PlayStation controller.
Right.
So you can tell me triangle all you want. I'm like, I don't know which one is the triangle.
It is wild that we have all become such good friends. It's like, whenever you think about the context from where each of us came from.
Much of it is happenstance. But,
fair. I live across the hall from y'all. That's the only way.
And my computer broke, and Jake could fix it.
I don't even think I fixed it. I think another friend of ours did.
Either way,
maybe
lifelong
I
friendship.
Remember. But yeah, that's good. A nice intro to horror, as it were. I can go next real quick. I'll steal it, something I never do. But I'd rather be the middle instead of just constantly talking for 30 minutes with the lead into plot, full circle, all that. So with the move finally being put into place, the one thing I want to talk about really quickly, just because Stuart's already talked about it twice, and I've been like, I haven't had a chance, is Silk Song, Hollow Knight Silk Song. I've finally been able to put some time into.
Hey.
Not too much. I'm at the last boss right before the second act, so not a whole lot that I've put into it because of the move. But it's a lot of fun. It's structured very nicely. It's basically more the same. It's the kind of thing that you want a sequel to be, where it improves upon the formula in several ways. There's a different character. There's a way to track missions that like side quests that you're doing in your menu. Just quality of life improvements, but at the core, it's exactly the same. Which I think that's the sweet spot, because obviously you want there to be some similarity, or else you wouldn't be clamoring for a sequel in the first place. It wouldn't make any sense. That being said, a lot of people I've seen, and this is not me trying to be like hardcore whatever, a lot of people have been saying that it's extremely hard, and the first Hollow Knight game is sort of the tutorial for Silksong. I don't really get any of that. I have not been having much of a problem, really. It's
A lot of it, I think,
intuitive.
is
The difficulty is exactly the same. I think some people are complaining about specifically the fact that bosses do 2 tokes of damage. I didn't even know it was bosses. All before I got to play it, everyone was just saying everything does 2 hits of damage, which one is not true. But also the healing is more efficient than it is in the first Hollow Knight, so it cancels each other out. I don't get what people are saying with the it's extremely hard. Like,
I think people just kind of started dogpiling on that sentiment whenever a few people started kind of talking about it. It's definitely more challenging than the average game, but not excessively so. It certainly gives you more chances to heal than Hollow Knight ever did.
oh, definitely. Yeah, it's just not something I've really understood, and I haven't had too much of a problem. It's pretty easy to not get yourself caught up in a particular boss fight. You can just leave, collect yourself, go somewhere else. Like, it's a huge map,
Yep.
and I'm just dealing with Act 1. Like, I've already had various things spoiled for me. I know how big it gets, which is not a surprise to me because I played Hollow Knight. So that's sort of what I'm operating off of right now. Eventually, I'll have some time, get back in, get into Act 2, and plug away with that because I am a big Hollow Knight fan and I'm liking Silksong so far. I just had to throw that out there because it befuddled me. The 4 or 5 hours I've put into this game have been like, I mean, it's definitely as hard as Hollow Knight, but
Yep.
oh well.
I think people just don't like how much movement's involved with it. It's definitely more active than Hollow Knight was.
Maybe. I guess if you're actively exploring and getting different crests, the different crests that change the way that you move and the different boons that you can attach to yourself, like you get different. You don't have to be beholden to one style of play, but maybe
Yeah.
people aren't exploring enough. Get out there. It's a big map. Explore.
You losers.
Fools. But yeah, that's the video game front. Just wanted to get that out there. I've been watching a ton of things as I always do, but I have 2 horrors to talk about, 2 theatrical horrors to talk about. So the first one, Weapons. I got a chance to see Weapons.
What did you think?
Ooh.
I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Weapons. Zach Kreger is continuing to do it for me. I think he has a good mind for horror. I was already a fan of Barbarian.
Gotcha.
And what was that?
I said continuing, and then you said Barbarian. It's like, that's what. Sorry, I didn't know what else he had done.
Oh yeah,
You explained.
yeah. Continuing forward from Barbarian, which I was a big fan of, and this definitely improves on a lot of the problems that Barbarian has as far as the narrative is concerned. The one thing I don't really care for in Weapons, which I don't see a lot of people talking about, is it has a sort of split narrative thing going on. Very much kind of like a World War Z thing, but it intertwines way more than that. And that style of storytelling has its purpose, its pros. It definitely has its cons, and I don't think it services this story necessarily well because I think it's structured that way to keep you guessing as to what is actually happening in the movie, but it comes across as more frustrating than anything else, especially when there's a large section of time devoted to someone that you literally just met. There's a stoner character that you see for like 5 seconds, and it's like, oh, now we're going to spend a day with him. And I'm like, I don't know that I need this, especially because he barely factors into the plot. And I get a lot of that.
I don't need to hang out with a stoner guy. I left college a while ago.
Yeah, and that, I think that was a bit of a misstep, but it doesn't make the movie itself bad. It's just a bit of a slog in the middle portion. It sags for sure because you get really invested, and then it's like sidetrack town. And it's all building to something, everything does connect, like a Grand Canyon story or something. But
Okay, but Barbarian
still,
did that
I wish it
too.
did that. Who did that?
Barbarian did that as well. That little side jack. It actually did it twice to introduce the Justin Long character. You got a complete like shutdown and then
Right.
tonal change, and then to get your 1970s backstory, you got a complete shutdown and tonal change. So that may just be the way this director does things. But I mean, that was one of the most jarring things about Barbarian. Like, in general, it's a very good horror story. It's mostly original. It does the build up, the suspense very well. But those random, just screeching to a halt and then shifting the story is just, like... And when they introduce Justin Long, he's such a dick, you don't... Like, why are you wasting my time with this guy?
Yeah. But at least he does end up playing into it, and maybe that is just something that Krieger likes to do, is to have that sort of split timeline sort of thing. I will agree in Barbarian, at least, that the flashback was it went on a bit too long. I don't think that was entirely necessary in Barbarian. But at least with
Necessarian, if you will.
Yeah.
Sorry.
At least with the Justin
Sorry.
Long thing, it's like a zoom forward in time. Like, time has passed from what you originally saw, and now we're going to continue the story. With Weapons, it's like the clock keeps resetting because you keep going back in time to see how someone else got involved. And so it feels like a lot of backtracing.
Okay, see, now I understand your World War Z analogy. Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
like if Strange
Weapons.
Darlings was done poorly.
Weapons is fun. Weapons is a fun movie. That's my only real qualm with it. Everyone does a really good job. It was shocking. It's really upfront with its storytelling in a way that I appreciate, because a lot of horror, especially now, everything is a metaphor for something. Like a Marge Simpson, everything is something. But this movie is just like it's literal. It is so literal in what is happening once you figure things out that you can start reading your own interpretations into what it means, instead of it being like, this whole movie is a subtle metaphor for alcoholism or something, which that also has its place if it's done well. I'm just a little sick of it. So I appreciated that too.
When it first came out, I saw an article that was titled "Weapons is a deep metaphor about existential dread," and even after having now seen it, I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah,
personally, I think it falls very neatly into one of my favorite subcategories of movies, that being a strange tale or a local urban legend.
Ooh, do love that.
Yeah.
But alongside that would be like things like Witch or Lighthouse.
I still need to see
two Robert Eggers movies.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you can see why I like Robert Eggers.
Yeah, so that's Weapons. I've gone on for a while now, so I'll just go to the other one really quick. I saw The Home, which is the Pete Davidson is a janitor at a creepy retirement facility.
I'm lost to with Pete Davidson, but go on.
Sure. It's whatever. It's one of those things where if it was, and I think I even put this in my Letterboxd review, if it was restructured into a slightly different type of movie, I could see it working really well. Because the last 10-ish minutes, I actually really enjoyed. Which is funny because the 5 to 10 minutes before that final 10 minutes, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is awful." It's without. I don't really care if I spoil it, but it's relatively new, so I'll dance around it anyways. It has this very, like, mystique about it, like, oh, it's a mystery. What's going on at the retirement home? He's not allowed to go to the 4th floor. You know, what's happening there? But it for anyone that has seen David Fincher's The Game, it's kind of like that, but a horror movie. And I'm like, you're losing me. But then it also kind of turns into like a John Wick ripoff, which I'm also getting a little tired of those. But I was so bogged down by everything else in the movie. I was like, you should have just done this. You should have just done a light horror John Wick movie where he kills a bunch of old people. And I would have had a great time. Get them Grampies out of there.
Efficient euthanasia.
Yeah, right into the grave. They've been needing it for some time. But yeah, that's The Home. Can't recommend. It's not great. Stuart, take me away from this.
Well, October is always a very busy month for me for like a lot of reasons, and this year is no exception at all. Between multiple birthdays, including my own, and then also I am getting married in literally 3 weeks from today, at time of recording. So a lot of things have been going on, but I've been able to do a little bit at least. I and Hannah have been slowly, whenever we have the time, still going through a bit of Twin Peaks. We're on to season 2 now, which I feel like we should have gotten to a while ago, but again, a lot of stuff had been happening. Still liking it. Still have no clue where it's going. I don't know how I could, but you know.
You're not supposed to know.
I mean, fair. It is incredible how each episode just kind of ranges as far as you can imagine it going, and then it still finds a way to be dramatic and not as silly as you'd expect it to be.
No, I have not watched Twin Peaks in a dog's age, but has David Lynch actually come in yet?
He has not yet, no.
Oh,
We're only on
damn.
the
I
we're
guess
only
he's
like
later.
episode 2 of season 2.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
And so I have no idea how many episodes are left after this point, since I know there's like Fire Walk with Me and the new version stuff.
The return. Yeah.
The return, yeah. But still enjoying it. It still has a lot of those hallmarks of earlier, like, the 90s stuff, where it's like really like the final episode of season 1 was like 18 things happened at once and like big stingers for the cliffhangers for the end. I was like, holy shit. So that's always fun to kind of see, kind of as a old hallmark of those shows. But that's kind of really been the only thing I've been watching, and with any consistency, just because between time and everything. As far as playing goes, my deep love of Silk Song had to be put on hold because another addictive substance came out, that being Hades 2. I am a very, very big fan of the original Hades, and the sequel is no exception on that one. It's just as well animated, just as well put together, just as well written, all these different things, good art and everything. And then it just is basically just has an entire extra game attached to it. Essentially, it basically doubles the amount of stuff that you could have done in the previous game. And Lord, is this hard. Like, I've basically beaten all the stuff for the base of the game, but to get any farther, you have to just keep ticking up more and more difficulty modifiers. And it's at a point where I'm trying to debate with myself of how much I actually want to dedicate myself to playing at a higher level, because a lot of games try to do that. Like, they're games that have always just tried to base themselves off their challenge level, and I've always kind of shied away from that in the past. But I feel like getting good at Silk Song has kind of started to let me get better at more challenging games, and Hades 2 is like an actual challenge for that. It's true. Like, I've been able to beat it on a basic level, and then going up any higher has been near frustrating. And I'm trying to find that sweet spot of if I'm actually enjoying myself still because of that.
Yeah, you're being a big
You go
fan
ahead.
of Hades as you are. I mean, I played it too, and I beat it. I didn't go much farther than the final like actual ending that you get, but I know that we talked about it a fair
Yeah.
bit. And I know you're a big fan of it, so I'm surprised that you waited until the full Hades 2 drop. Did you not play any of it when it was
Oh, not at all.
in its early stage?
I did not even attempt to touch it while I was in the early stage, because like I never like, especially for something like Hades, with I can see doing certain games in an earlier state because like they have new mechanics being added slowly, and they at least have some sort of robust thing starting off that you can work with. Meanwhile, Hades has entire like character art and character arcs, like like dialogue trees and everything that just aren't implemented yet, and that's so much of the appeal of the game for me. And so I wanted to be able to experience it when it was as complete as it could possibly be. I didn't want to have to, go into it and be like, okay, cool, this could look good later, and then just I have a middling experience now. It's like, no, I just want to have the full experience when it's available. And so I truly, and plus I love Supergiant as a developer so much, and so it's like I fully trusted what they were going to put out. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I never had the desire to really tap into it before full release, just because like
Sure.
with how robust of a game it is, it felt like it needed to have everything before I really wanted to enjoy it. So, but that has kind of been the extent of my stuff.
All right. Well, shall we go to Gothic Town then?
Yay! To one of my favorite names in German ever, Eine Symphonie des Grauens.
I'm glad you said it because I won't. This is Nosferatu. Okay, starting off, we'll be touching on Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, the 1922 film directed by F.W. Murnau and based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. Starting off, I'll go through the cast here. Max Schreck as Count Orlok, Gustav von Wangenheim as Thomas Hutter, Greta Schroeder as Ellen, George H. Schnell as Harding, Ruth Lanzoff as Ruth, Gustav Botz as Professor Sievers, Alexander Granach as Nock, John Gotthard as Professor Bulwer, and Max Nemetz as the captain of the Impusa. In 1838, in the fictional German town of Weisberg, Thomas Hutter is sent to Transylvania by his employer, the eccentric estate agent Herr Nacht, to visit a new client, Count Erlach, who is planning on buying a house across from Hutter's own residence. As Hutter studies the route on a map, Nacht secretly studies a mysterious correspondence and Kabbalistic symbols. While embarking on his journey, Hutter stops at an inn in which the locals are terrified by the mere mention of Orlok's name. In his room, he finds a book about vampires, which he initially scoffs at but puts in his baggage. After his carriage refuses to take him further than the entrance to the mountain pass, Hutter travels on foot until after sunset, when he is met on the road by a coach and rides to Orlok's castle in the Carpathian Mountains, where he is welcomed by Orlok himself. While Hutter is eating supper, he accidentally cuts his thumb. Orlok tries to suck the blood out, but his repulsed guest pulls his hand away. Hutter wakes up the next morning to find fresh punctures on his neck, which he attributes to mosquitoes. That night, Orlok signs the documents to purchase the house and notices on the table a miniature portrait of Hutter's wife, Ellen, an image that the young man carries with him in a small circular frame. Admiring the portrait, the Count remarks that she has a lovely neck. Reading the book that he took from the inn, Hutter begins to suspect that Orlok is indeed a vampire. With no way to bar the door to his bedroom, Hutter desperately tries to hide as midnight approaches. Suddenly, the door begins to slowly open by itself, and as Orlok enters, a terrified Hutter hides under the bed covers and falls unconscious. Meanwhile, back in Weisberg, Ellen arises from her own bed and sleepwalks to the railing of her bedroom's balcony. She starts walking on top of the railing, which gets the attention of Thomas's friend Harding in the adjacent room. When the doctor arrives, Ellen envisions Orlok in his castle, threatening her unconscious husband, and shouts Hutter's name, which somehow Orlok is able to hear, causing him to withdraw. On the next day, Hutter explores the castle. In a vault, he finds the coffin in which Orlok is resting dormant in the crypt and flees back to his room. Hours later, as Hutter watches, Orlok piles up coffins on a coach and climbs into the last one before the coach departs. Hutter manages to escape from the castle, injuring himself in the process, and after a period of recovery, he rushes home. Orlok's coffins are taken aboard a schooner, which the sailors open only to discover rats. All of the crewmen later die, and Orlok takes control of the vessel. Not long after Hutter returns home, the ship arrives in Weisberg. Orlok leaves unobserved, carrying one of the coffins, and moves into the house that he purchased. Many deaths in the town follow Orlok's arrival, which the local doctors attribute to an unspecified plague caused by the rats from the ship. Nock, who has gone completely insane, is confined to a mental asylum, but escapes after strangling one of the wardens. Against Hutter's wishes, Ellen reads the book that he found on his journey. It claims that a vampire can be destroyed if a pure-hearted woman distracts the vampire from the approaching dawn with her beauty and by offering him her blood of her own free will. Ellen decides to sacrifice herself to stop Orlok. Nock, whom the villagers blame for the plague, is eventually recaptured and returned to the asylum. Ellen opens her window to invite Orlok in and pretends to fall ill so that she can send Hutter to fetch Professor Bulwer, a physician. After he leaves, Orlok enters and drinks her blood, but the sun rises and its rays cause Orlok to vanish in a puff of smoke. Nock, in his asylum cell, senses this and is shattered. Ellen lives just long enough to be embraced by her grief-stricken husband. The film's final image is that of Orlok's castle, destroyed. Now for the remake, Nosferatu, from 2024, directed by Robert Eggers, based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, but also directly on Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, originally by Henrik Galeen, Henrik Galeen wrote this screenplay for the original 22 film. Now, I'll go through the cast, but just be noted that the film is mostly identical, being a direct remake of not just the movie, but the screenplay. It elaborates on a lot of different elements of the movie, things that are expanded upon and scenes that are much longer. We see a lot more of Sievers and his mentor, Albin Eberhard von Franz, and there's also just more going on with the Harding family, Friedrich and his wife and their two daughters. Just a lot of things like that. And of course, this is a modernized remake. It's also from Robert Eggers, who, if you're familiar with his films, it's a lot more intimate, I'll say. So with that, we'll go through the cast here real quick. We have Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter, Nicholas Hoult as Thomas Hutter, Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Friedrich Harding, Willem Dafoe as Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, Emma Corrin as Anna Harding, Ralph Ineson as Dr. Wilhelm Sievers, Simon McBurney as Herr Nock, And then Adela Hasova and Milena Konstantinova as Clara and Louise Harding, the two daughters. So, all that being said, let's go into Full Circle. All right, so for Full Circle this time around, we only have 3 to talk about, and all of them are for the Robert Eggers version. We have not touched any other. We haven't touched any other Murnau pictures. I think there's a remake of Cabinet of Dr. Caligari if we ever want to do that. And then maybe we'll get some full circles there with the original Nosferatu, but that's a future discussion for a future time.
We've never done Max Schreck before?
No.
Or Gustav von Wagenheim?
Who?
Okay. God, he was Hutter. He was the
I have the cast list in front of me. So, firstly, perhaps the biggest one, we have Bill Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgård clan, if you will, who was Count Orlok in 2024's Nosferatu. And in It Chapter 2, he was Pennywise the Clown.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nicholas Hoult, who was Thomas Hutter in 2024's Nosferatu. We saw him previously as Eusebios in 2010's Clash of the Titans remake. And wouldn't you know it, another Dracula-adjacent movie, he was Renfield in 2023's Renfield.
I don't know if I'd call it Dracula adjacent. The Dracula was in that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean adjacent to the Dracula movie is what I mean.
Oh, okay. It's like, I mean, my man, I like that was a pretty directly Dracula thing.
Yeah, no, I mean it's adjacent to the Dracula property in the same way that this is in a way. It is not the story of Dracula.
Okay, fair.
We'll give you that.
And finally, Willem Dafoe.
Willem.
As Professor Eberhard von Franz in Nosferatu. He was also Norman Osborn, or the Green Goblin, you might say, in Spider-Man 2002. And he was also Clem Hoatley in 2021's Nightmare Alley.
Oh, yeah, I fully forgot he was in Nightmare Alley.
Yeah. And that's it for Full Circle. Baby.
I'm kind of glad this was an especially long one, especially for the original, because those have a coin flip of we've either never heard of any of them for one reason or another, or they ended up being like a billion things back in the day, because everyone was in everything for a good 10-year period before movies got a bit more, structured.
Everyone was in everything.
Well, especially for the
all
20s and 30s, holy shit. Just the fact that this is a German silent film is the only reason that we're not talking about Snitz Edwards. Because I guarantee you if this was a Hollywood production, his ass would have been in it as Knock, probably.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so how do we want to start? Do we want to talk about the grooming or the mustache?
Both of you can start. I gotta coat my throat with water from all the talking I just did.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to, at least in that note, I'd love to be able to talk about the, regional accuracy of both of these films. If referring to the mustache, because that's actually an accurate mustache of the day.
Oh yes, it is. It's a phenomenal mustache.
I love that mustache. It's like I could get lost in that mustache.
So you can
referring to the mustache that Nosferatu has in the remake.
You can kind of tell that even though the original Nosferatu is meant to be a German film, I mean, they gave them all German names. They made up a German town. They took Dracula and set it in Germany. It's not a love letter to the culture the way that the remake is.
No, for sure. I think it's very clear in the original that it truly is just taking the adaptation of Dracula through a very German lens. Mm-hmm. And which is fine. Obviously, Murnau is a very German director, and that's a very valid interpretation to do it. We've done tons of movies on here where we've seen reinterpretations into different cultural lights. I mean, hell, Infernal Affairs and The Departed, god damn it all. And, Straw Dogs is also one that comes to mind for me. Just just how these stories can just shift differently depending on cultural outlook. It's just that the remake actually decides to go back to basics and be like, actually, no, what if it actually looked like it took place in the place it says it takes place in?
Well, so the original is a film made by Germans for Germans. So you don't need to,
Yes,
they don't
very.
need all of the little extra bits for them to know it's Germany. It was in German, you know, the subtitles were, the title pages, whatever those things are called, because it was silent. But
Yeah.
the
Well, I
remake,
can't remember the term.
because it's not a regional production, because it's not a localized thing, it says we're going to honor the German tradition of Nosferatu, and we're going to smack you in the face with it.
But that being said, it can't be understated as well the fact that the actual setup of 1922's Nosferatu is also a hallmark of Murnau's work is the expressionism that I alluded to. It's even if it wasn't for the German people, he would have made concessions to have at least part of the film be as angular and cubist as possible to just evoke, and that's how he gets across terror and dreams specifically is through abstract landscapes.
I do love how he does dream sequences. It's among my favorites.
So,
at least for these earlier pieces.
The first time I saw the original Nosferatu was in college. My fantasy literature class, we watched it in class because the teacher didn't believe he could actually get 20-year-olds to watch a silent film at home. So we watched it in class. And it struck me then, and it struck me again. I rewatched it today to make sure I wasn't misremembering. Every time you hear someone talk about the original Nosferatu, someone as in like big Hollywood names, people who do film sort of thing, they talk about it being haunting rather than scary. And if you took out the sound, that's true. But up until the last 25 minutes of the film, and I did clock it, okay, the last 25 minutes of the film, the music is so hopeful and peppy and uplifting that even the first time you see Orlok, it's like there's nothing scary about this man. Like, yeah, he's a little freaky looking at him, but the music does not tell you to be afraid. And in a silent film, the music was what evoked the tone.
See, there is where we run into a potential issue of versions for the modern day. For the simple fact that a lot of silent films, in some cases, even had live bands performing the music.
That is true.
And that it's more than likely that the original musical context has either been lost or otherwise was never fully set in stone. So there's some amount of leeway there, but also at the same time, a lot of music back then probably did just sound more hopeful to our modern ears.
No, I'm going to disagree with you, Stuart. I did a good deal of research into this, and they're fairly certain that the recorded music for the Nosferatu restorations is the music that was the score that was written at the time. And also, like, really? It is really easy to make dramatic music. You kind of just need more bass line, and it didn't have that. It was almost jarring. Like, I'm not expecting it to do jump scares. That sort of thing didn't exist yet in 1922. Just what we consider horror was completely different. But eerie music and eerie storytelling have always been there. So the fact that this was the musical direction they went with, it kind of made me uncomfortable.
It's even kind of weird because even thinking about it, like, I can't remember. We've done Phantom of the Opera for the show, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure that we definitely did do that, because like even in the original Phantom of the Opera, which was silent, they definitely had some creepy music. Not like creepy necessarily, but it felt more dramatically appropriate than it did at times for this one.
Yes,
right. So yeah, that wasn't German. I mean, Snitz Edwards was in that Phantom of the Opera as the theater director. Remember, it couldn't have been German. He was there.
There.
But like, so there's such a strong history of opera and tragedy in, and you know what? I'm going to use this word, and I might get made fun of by your listeners for, in the Papal States, which is what Germany was. Okay?
Yeah,
so
listen, Steph, I don't know if a lot of our listeners are necessarily haughty enough to be that annoyed by the use of Papal States.
Okay, well, whatever. So the fact that they don't go for the dramatic edge with the music, it was just, it was bizarre.
There is some strange aspects to this that I can't tell how much of it is poorly made or just like poorly translated to the modern era. But I definitely do agree with you on this one that the music was kind of a lacking point there.
Which is a shame because really what made silent film so exciting, like you mentioned earlier, was the live orchestra. It was the music because obviously there's no dialogue. So if you want someone to stay involved, the music has got to really reel you in.
Well, I think part of the problem as well is that Erdman wasn't really a film guy. I mean, this is early enough in film that a lot of people weren't film guys. But when I say Erdman, by the way, Erdman was Hans Erdman was the composer for the audience. Yeah. But he did like 3 things, and this was the only horror that he did. So probably just not a great fit. But also we're early enough in the life cycle of films that horror was able to be defined by this picture. Like, there weren't many examples to go off of.
And if you really think about it, early film, especially silent film, was not highbrow. So if you wanted to get a dramatic composer, they probably would have turned him down. Anybody who knew dramatic music, who knew the eerie, how to compose that sort of thing, they probably weren't interested in being involved in a German movie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, honestly, fair. There's probably a certain amount of cultural divide there as well.
That just occurred to me as Jake was talking, so it's not like I've been sitting here thinking that the entire time. It's literally like when Jake started talking about that this guy hadn't done horror before. It's like, yeah, anybody who has any experience with the dramatic and the macabre is probably like, why would I want to do this? No, I don't want my name on this.
But as long as we're doing the apt comparisons, I think, because I do agree to an extent, I think that near the end, the sound really does pick up, and maybe that's because there are actual stakes at play, at least in the telling of the picture. Yeah. But there is most of the music didn't bother me. The one that did is when it's cutting between back in Winsberg and the ship. Orlok above the ship, or aboard the ship, there's like circus music.
Yes.
And that I didn't understand.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But everything else was fine for me. But that was strange.
I mean, if we're, to go back to the comparisons part of this whole shebang, I am curious to see what you guys are thinking about the sound design of the remake, because, oh boy, there are some moments.
Oh, I thought you were going to elaborate on your thoughts there.
No, I was gonna let you guys start to run with it, because like I'm sure I have a very unfocused feeling on a lot of aspects of the newer one, just because I mean it's at times very cerebral. But I'm curious to see what you guys' takes on it, just because I know you guys are going to have some things to say. Sure.
It kind of just washed over me. I thought it was perfectly fine in that it fits like a puzzle piece. I don't, with the exception of the Vivitch, Eggers films, the score doesn't necessarily stand out to me. It's something that I think complements decently well. I will say, and I mean, we're going to talk more about the actual comparisons of the movies, but I do like this film, Nosferatu 2024. I gave it a good review when I saw it in theaters last year. It's probably my least favorite of Eggers' output, and I think that's solely because he's a bit more restrained than usual, and I think that's because this is the only adaptation that he's done. So it feels like he's a bit more reined in than he usually can be with, I guess the preeminent examples would be The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. That being said, I still like it. There are things that I don't care for, which are less problems with the movie and more nitpicks, like taste-wise, that I don't like. But I can't really say that the score is one of those things.
I mean, also to say, just since we're out of the silent film era, it's like, I mean the sound design in general, just because there are a few, like, I think just anytime Count Orlok speaks, I think it's just kind of like, I'm trying to think of a way to put this. I love his audio presence more than his screen presence, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Orlok's, okay, I'm just going to get into it because I think this is the thing that most people disagreed with me on when the movie came out. I appreciate the accuracy of the costuming and the design of Orlok. I don't care for it. I don't think it's as creepy and unsettling as the more dream-like take of a stock vampire that Murnau had.
Yeah. I wish I liked Orlok more in the remake.
I'm going to interject here. The movie's free on Prime, so I was watching it on Prime, and, Prime does those little, filming tidbits, trivia, all that nonsense, and there was a time I paused the movie, and, something came up that said the director was so freaked out by Bill Skarsgård in costume, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. And it mostly doesn't make sense to me because what made Orlok scary, what made Bill Skarsgård scary, is the soundscape that surrounds him. Stu, you're dead right there. It's his vocal presence. It's that gravel, that scrape, that nails on the chalkboard, that stumbling over grave dirt sound of his voice that is frightening. Mm-hmm. That is haunting. Like, yeah, okay, you take a look at the character, he's creepy looking, but he's like a creepy looking uncle, okay? He's not a movie monster. It's the sound of Orlok. And yeah, part of that is the score, but most of it is in how Skarsgård played with his own voice to give it that, oh dear God, that sound is the creature in the shadows following you at night. That is what made Orlok scary.
He creates the feeling that that Orlok creates in the original with its dreamlike and kind of eerie presence is what Skarsgård was able to do with his voice alone. Mm-hmm. Like the very fact that he makes the character extend beyond itself, essentially. He makes it permeate the whole film just by speaking. Meanwhile, the original, it permeates it by the fact that he just seems to be present everywhere because of those strange dream sequences, and it just makes it so interesting as a character in both cases.
And his dead
it's
stare.
Just that he...
Oh yeah, the dead stare.
The dead stare is the worst aspect of that thing. If I saw that thing on anybody, like not even like a vampire with pointy ears, I would probably turn tail.
Yeah, I would just be like, I'm just going to die here. I'm good.
Something just occurred to me listening to you talk, Stuart. The original Nosferatu has a very dreamlike essence to it. You're 100% right. But the remake is nightmarish.
Yes. That's a very good way of putting it, actually.
That is the divide. The dreamlike essence versus the shift into nightmare.
It seems like, again, I can't tell how much of it is deliberate choosing between them or if it's just a difference of like original German expressionism versus modern interpretations of Gothic horror. And
which 100%,
I'm guessing it's probably a bit of both.
There's 100
It's probably a bit of both, honestly.
These two. Like there's so much room for cultural differences to take root and change the way that we look at stories. But and we are desensitized to horror in a way that the audiences in 1922 simply weren't. Back then, the idea of doing something spooky for the evening was going to a poetry reading and listening to like Poe versus watching slashers. It's just a completely different environment. Okay? But I think the remake does a really good job of going back to the expressionist romantic roots while making it sinister enough for a modern audience.
Well, I think specifically when we're talking about the nightmare feeling that comes across, that is entirely Eggers. Because that's something, that's a hallmark of his adaptation. Well, when I say adaptations, I mean that loosely because this is the only like out and out adaptation that he's done. But that's a hallmark of his storytelling of basically bringing Gothic folklore to life. Mm-hmm. He operates in a world of dreams, not unlike someone like Murnau likes to do, or for a more contemporary reference, like a Lynch.
Oh yeah, big time.
But he constructs it in such a way that it's not dreamlike in that you're sort of dancing on clouds and wondering what's real and what's not. It's as if the dreams are seeping into the real world, and that's why a lot of like I mentioned with the Vivitch that the score stood out to me is it's one of the first examples of a horror movie score that sort of has that droning sound in it, which now has become all too commonplace and is another thing that's getting a little tiresome. It's like someone discovers something that works and then everybody runs with it.
Yeah.
It's like, the brown note, cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna shit my pants. But that's exactly what he does, and that's that's a hallmark of his style in the same way that, like you were saying, the dream versus the nightmare is a hallmark of Murnau's style. And just when you're looking at 1922's Nosferatu, that is the horror of it. It's not just the fact that there's a vampire on the loose. The horror is that he is preeminent because he exists in... He, not literally, but he can use dreams as like tunnels.
Yeah.
Between realities. And that is the horrifying bit. It's like, when are you safe? You're
also,
not.
Yeah.
Also, going back to kind of the roots of Nosferatu, when Murnau, you said the original director's name is?
Yeah, Murnau.
Okay.
F.W. Murnau.
Murnau. When he decided to do this, he obviously had to change the story for what was then a modern audience. You know, in the original Dracula, okay, the terror is a creature coming in at night and killing you, taking away your life essence. Whereas Nosferatu is kind of characterized by the disease, the rats. You know, he's not the wolf and the bat and the rat and all these things. He is literally just the rats. And when you think about the 1920s, what was happening in the 1920s? The fucking Spanish flu. Okay? It was a huge time of disease. Yeah. Okay? One of the biggest societal fears at that time was a fucking plague ship. And here Nosferatu comes in, bringing the plague. He's not just a creature in the night. He is the embodiment of the Black Death sweeping through this town.
It's like the Mask of the Red Death, but bigger.
Yeah, actually, a little without the class commentary. Yeah, It's preying on...
I'm surprised there isn't more class commentary.
Well, the big class commentary in Mask of the Red Death is when tragedy happens, the rich set themselves away, and because they're rich, they get away with surviving while the poor die. So...
Yeah, I meant in Nosferatu.
Yeah, no. So Nosferatu is different there, but it's you know, that's what makes good horror. I'm sure you've talked about this before on other episodes, but good horror is not just what scares people, it's what scares people today.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't talked about that more.
Like, you could,
to be truly honest.
It doesn't come up a whole lot with the movies that we've done specifically, just because it's not a running a lot of the movies that we've done, it's been Dracula, Frankenstein, and this that I think have really spurred those types of conversations. Everything else has been a bit slighter. So
to be fair, in those cases, it's because the time difference between them is so great. This might be one of the biggest time jump differences we've ever had.
102 years? Yeah, I think this one wins.
It's close.
That might be that one. Yeah, what would be the longest one? It would probably be like, it wouldn't be Arabian Nights to Aladdin technically, because we didn't really consider that.
No, Thief of Baghdad was a different episode, so that wouldn't count.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think 102 might be the record, unless I'm misremembering one.
No.
So I actually talked about this in one of my psych classes in college. What makes horror movies so scary? It was an anecdote someone brought up, and the teacher kind of jumped on it. Marilee was great like that. Someone talking about, I watched the original Friday the 13th. I don't remember if that's the exact movie, but that's what I'm going to say recently. And it didn't really scare me all that much. It's like, yeah, because we have different fears as a society now than they did in the 1970s. What are horror movies now besides remakes? Because remakes are all there ever is. Jesus fucking Christ. But there's something in the house and hauntings. Those are the two things that are really scaring people right now. The safe place that should be safe and should be my sanctuary is not safe. Okay? And there is a force I cannot control that wishes to do me harm.
Yeah, like Gary Busey.
Yeah, we watched The Hider in the House last week.
I know. I'm so mad I missed it. Oh, God. I put it on my watch list.
It was great. Yeah, you got to watch it.
I will say the ending was a bit disappointing in retrospect, but... Yeah.
Well, it was a TV movie, so...
Yeah.
It was a TV movie?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, Jake introduced it after Black Phone by saying that it's the original Lifetime movie.
Basically,
oh my God.
Anyway,
Lord.
back to my point. So when Roger Eggers adapted Nosferatu, it's kind of funny actually, because if it had come out a couple years earlier, he could have just stuck with the disease angle because, COVID. But because there was enough of a time and people were convinced enough that COVID wasn't as bad as it actually was, he added in the angle of the sexual exploitation. When God, not Lucy. Helen. I get the names mixed up so badly. When Helen is talking to not Jonathan, Thomas. When Helen is talking to Thomas, oh my God.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of this.
Yeah. On the second night, she is talking to him about how this creature came to her, and at first it felt good. He was kind. She felt safe, and then she began to be hurt, and she was scared, and she couldn't get away. Like, I noticed it in theaters, and like maybe it was, afterwards I was thinking to myself, oh, it's just because it's in theaters. You feel everything so much more when you watch a movie in the theater. But then I rewatched it sitting at my desk at work, and it's like, oh no, this is absolutely. And then the resolution.
This is a hell of a movie to watch at work, by the way.
It's fine. I watch everything at work. I do data entry. There's a movie going on in the background almost every day.
It's fair, but this of all things.
Dude, I watch Straw Dogs at work. It don't matter. None of this matters.
You know what?
So
fair.
The movie ends with, which I actually learned today, Nosferatu 1922 is the first time that a vampire is killed by direct exposure of sunlight. Up until then, it was just an inconvenience.
That is correct. This one was the trendsetter.
This one was what created that part of the mythos. But for the film to end with a virgin has to offer herself to him to distract him from the sunrise, which that holds over in both. Okay, that's fine. But to set up the grooming angle in the beginning, which the original did not have, and then still end it with, granted, she's not a virgin, she's a married woman, but still end it with that. The woman he has been victimizing has to give herself over to him to save everyone else. Like, oh my God. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's a hell of a thing.
Like, strip away the story, strip away the gravel voice, strip away everything. There's a monster that has been victimizing a woman her entire life, and the only way to save everyone in her town is for her to let him kill her. And she's naked at the end. He did not just suck her blood. There are clear overtones of rape there, and it is horrifying.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, this is going to be from the position of a man who is never going to be having to deal with any of these issues, so please take all these things with a grain of salt, obviously. Yeah. It's one of those things of, I can't tell how much of it is brilliant and how much of it is just like exploitative, and I don't know how to expand on that thought without coming off as disingenuous.
No, I think that's a valid point.
I liked the ending in both cases, but I definitely think I prefer how they go about it in the original, for the simple fact of, it's a bit tamer in a way that's not like, oh, our audiences are too sensitive. Like, no, it felt like they did that ending with intent still. But
no, I agree, because I think that isn't necessary. Now, I don't want to put words in the director's mouth, obviously, but Eggers does have a history of overt displays of uncomfortable intimacy that he puts into his movies. That is a bit of a running thing. So that could just be a director flair as opposed to any direct messaging. Not that you can't see things in anything, that's not what I mean. But
at least in The Lighthouse, it involved Willem Dafoe.
That's true. Which, Willem Dafoe has been in every Eggers film sans The Witch, I'm pretty sure.
And I love Willem Dafoe's character, by the way. I think he's phenomenal. Anyway, please continue.
He's great.
Oh, yeah,
he's going to be in Eggers' next movie that's coming out next year, Werewolf.
I am so excited for that one.
Me too. It's not an adaptation of The Wolfman or anything. It's just a movie with a werewolf in it. And I'm like, God, what a concept.
Amazing.
It's a movie with a werewolf in it and supposedly with period-accurate dialogue. I'm like...
Yes, which could be infuriating. We'll see. We'll see how he handles that. But
yeah, for sure. He
does have a core cast of characters that he likes to rely on. Like, for example, like we said, Willem Dafoe, but also in Werewolf upcoming, I'm pretty sure is Mr. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ralph Ineson, and Lily Depp. I'm pretty sure all of them are supposed to be in Werewolf. So
that's gonna be a good one.
And also,
but
can
anyway,
we talk about Ralph Ineson? I'm a big fan, and I don't think he gets his dues.
Who did he play
appropriately?
Who is Wilhelm
in
Sivers?
this? Yeah, in this he was Sivers.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The doctor.
But he's great. He's a great character actor. I don't think he gets enough recognition.
Yeah. It's hard to like. I will say fully. I don't think there was a single weak performance in the 2024 one.
Oh, absolutely not. If you tried to tell me that, I'd slap you silly. Every single actor in this movie put on the performance of a lifetime.
It is with also that caveat of I don't necessarily care for certain bits and pieces of it. Like, you know, aforementioned end rape scene and unmentioned necrophilia scene.
It's funny. I think Nicholas Hoult has really found a niche in that he plays like these sort of spineless, hapless characters that want the best but don't end up getting it.
Yes.
And
and I think it's
twisted version
such
of that.
A great niche.
The twisted version of that, surprisingly, being a well-founded Lex Luthor.
Oh, I forgot he was. I still haven't seen that. I've had no drive to. Maybe if we do an episode.
I liked it. I think he was great as Lex Luthor, and honestly, keeping up. It's weird finding the fact that spineless jackass who doesn't get what he wants is still the character he plays as Lex Luthor, and he plays it beautifully.
Yeah, that is Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's just a bit smarter about it.
World's biggest narcissist.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I sorry, I wanted to put that out there before I got too far away from it.
You're good.
Love Ralph Ineson is basically what I wanted to say. And I'm a big fan, and I've said it, I've hyped it up plenty in the past, and especially during this because I've seen all of his output so far. I am a big Eggers fan. I just think some of his traits, some of his better points do shine through in Nosferatu. I just feel like some of it he's a bit beholden to a story that he doesn't get to contribute much to. At the very least, he does get to elaborate, which is just the nature of remakes in Hollywood anymore, because if your movie is not over 2 hours, you basically fucked up in the eyes of the Hollywood system. You're going to get a little bit of that anyways, which, to be fair, I often criticize movies, especially newer ones, for their prolonged runtime, because not because they're long, but because I don't think they earn that runtime. I don't think that 2024's Nosferatu feels bloated at any point. I do think it is well structured. I think it utilizes all the time that it has. So I will say that's a benefit in its favor. I personally don't glom on to a lot of the horror of it. I do think that Orlok's presence through voice, and I think that some of the editing through shadow manipulation do well. But I think
I'm a big sucker for shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. But I just think that Schreck's Orlok and that Nosferatu just resonates with me a bit more. And that's one of the things where I don't want to come across as a hipster, like older is better. I never want to come across that way. Because that's not the way that I think about these things. Although I will say that horror changes over time. If you go back and watch an older horror movie, there's always a chance that, it's not going to do anything for you, or it's not going to be scary, or you're going to find this wrong with it or that wrong with it, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But I also and I'm going to come out and say this, I think that people watch movies wrong. Or I think a lot of people watch movies wrong, and they always a lot of people go in expecting something or looking for a certain thing, and when they don't get it or when they find something hokey, they either write it off or they laugh. Because, isn't it funny that people in the 70s used to think this? It's like, can't we just live in the moment? It's like The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. Do I find The Exorcist scary in 2025, for example? I just rewatched it not too long, maybe 2-3 years ago I rewatched it. No, I don't necessarily find it scary, but I also think that people going in and watching it are expecting the scariest thing they've ever seen because of what people said about it in the 70s. And they're also watching it because it's a movie about an exorcism. It's not a movie about an exorcism. An exorcism happens. It's a movie about a priest grappling with his faith, is what The Exorcist is about. And that I know that's a bit of a tangent, but
that's why it's called That's why it's called The Exorcist, not The Exorcism. It's about the person performing it.
Exactly. It's he is the main character for a reason, and it's all about his trials and tribulations, and that's why I think Friedkin is an excellent director, which we've talked about him multiple times on the podcast before. Anywho,
Yes.
That's a big long tangent to explain the fact that I think that Nosferatu is a silent film that is from a different country that is over 100 years old and is in black and white, unless you, for some reason, deign to watch the strangely colored over version. But I think that if you're going into it without specific expectations and just trying to watch something, understanding the period that it's from, you can get a lot from it. And I think that it's a scary movie. I don't think that I'm sitting there feeling dread the entire time or horror, but I do think that I think it's a scary movie, and I think it does what it sets out to do.
So,
and I think that 2024 does that as well. It just doesn't hit the same notes for me, primarily because of Orlok's design and because I prefer the cubist, expressionist design to the set piece, and that's where I'll stand. I've rambled for a bit now. I like both movies. I like 2020. I like 22's just a little more.
So I'm actually going to run a similar tangent to you, Jacob. The first time that I saw the Blair Witch Project was in my living room with the guy I was seeing at the time. And he put it on and said, "This is the scariest movie I've ever seen. You're not going to be able to sleep tonight." And about halfway through, I was like, "What? What's scary about this?" I didn't get it.
Yeah.
At which point he explained to me that it was the original found footage. Before the movie came out, the actors in it hid from the public eye for months, so people thought they'd actually died. The director went to trial, like, how could you just find this and not do something about it? What happened to these people? And he had to literally, like, get the actors to show up to court to be like, "Hey, we're alive, it was a movie," because everyone thought it was real. Okay? That is my way of bringing it to some movies are meant to be seen in theaters. And sometimes a movie only is frightening in the moment of its release. I saw Nosferatu in theaters. I loved it. And rewatching it recently, it hit me so much of what scared me the first time I saw it was the drama of the theater. The big screen, that when the carriage is pulling up to Nicholas Hoult, and there's just something off about the camera shots, and everything feels slightly unreal. It doesn't translate to my phone screen. It doesn't translate to a TV in my lit living room. It is meant to be viewed in that moment, in the theater, in the darkness, being surrounded by that eerie score. And so I am going to say that I preferred 2024's, but I will also say that had I seen the original Nosferatu in a silent film setting on a big screen with an orchestra, my opinion might be different. Because I think so much of how a movie is enjoyed is the environment. There are some movies that are better in your living room. There are some movies that are better projected on the back of your house at night. Okay? That like, now that I've done that with Friday the 13th, 100% the best way to watch that movie. Oh my God. 100%. Best way to watch Jaws? Sitting in a pool. Like, that is just the way to do it, okay? And I
Y'all remember watching Hardcore Henry at Zach's house? That was the best way to watch that movie.
Oh my God, 100%. So, I'm not going to say that Nosferatu 1922 isn't a good movie. I don't think I appreciate it the way it should be appreciated, simply because I am a very situational person, and I've never been in the right situation for that movie. I do think it's funny to note that had it not been for Bram Stoker's widow's lawsuit against the makers, Nosferatu would have probably faded into obscurity.
Yep.
So it is simply by her determination to get rid of it that it became a cultural staple and became the original monster movie and like set the stage for the cultural obsession with vampires. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have become obsessed either way, because Dracula really is just a phenomenal novel and it was amazing when it came out and it's amazing to reread now, okay? But that when you think movie vampires, that original Count Orlok is one of the first things that come to mind, because he is just a little creepy dude. And so, yeah.
He's a little creepy dude with some great presence.
Exactly. So, yes, I do prefer the 2024 Nosferatu, but I do think that the 1922 movie did a lot of things that just can't be replicated.
And Stu, before
sure.
you go into your thoughts, I just have to say on the point of the Blair Witch, can we just put an edict out there to everyone listening and just everyone in the culture as well? Don't show someone a movie and then be like, "This is this movie. You're gonna feel this way." That is a really shit way to show someone something, even if you add context later. And also, I don't understand that. Like, this is a really scary movie because people thought that the cast was actually killed. I mean, go back to 1974, I think it was, with Cannibal Holocaust. The same thing happened there, and I'm not going around showing people Cannibal Holocaust saying it's a really scary movie. So...
And also, I feel like if you went around showing people Cannibal Holocaust, they'd probably just not want to hang out with you anymore.
Probably not. It's everyone come over. We're watching the Onania Club in Salo. I don't think people would be my friend anymore.
To be totally fair,
my man.
My ex was a piece of shit. So, like...
How many times have you said that in a sentence?
Oh, dear God. If I had $1 for every time I said that, I would be the richest woman on earth.
Yeah, I do, and I will get into my thoughts. I want to just expand on this tangent just a tiny bit more. I do think it's perfectly valid to say, here's what this movie made me feel.
Yeah,
but yeah,
sure.
I truly cannot stand people who are like, you are going to feel this way. Because like that in one way, it kind of is in a way a spoiler, and it's just not cool, you know, of just being like, and then if you don't feel that, it feels disappointing.
As someone who was just getting into horror, that really made me uncomfortable with the movie. Like, it kind of tensed me up for the first... So if he had shown me something that did legitimately, you know, scare the shit out of me, it would have also taken away from it, because I didn't come to that emotion on my own.
Yeah.
Anyway, Stu, let's hear your
thoughts. We need to fully prosecute movie criminals, is all I'm saying.
Ooh, I love it.
We need to kill cinema sins.
They've had it too good for too long.
For whatever amount of time they've been going, if they're even still going. Anyway, my thoughts. To go off and to continue the slight trend where each of you had your own small tangent, I will have one here too. As with many people of my generation, and annoyingly to many people, I was first introduced to the concept of Nosferatu because of that one SpongeBob episode. And I then, as a result, when I had a high school class about film, like actually like making film, like actually like filming, and there was a big push of like what to watch around Halloween, because we do movies like once a month. I was able to push forward doing the original Nosferatu, just because, you know, I had always wanted to see it. And when I first watched it, I had not seen a lot of silent film before, and so I didn't have a great appreciation for it at the time. And so when I first saw it, I was kind of like, okay, whatever, and I moved on. Then, way later, when I was in maybe one of my first years in college, or maybe just slightly before, I went to my brother's college where they did a screening of the original Phantom of the Opera in a church at Halloween with a live organist to play the music alongside it. And truly one of the coolest experiences I have ever had. Because like they had done up like all dramatic, and it was like a straight, like a Catholic, old school Catholic chapel, like cool lighting. They had like the screen was above the altar and everything. It was amazing. And I think that set me up to understand and really appreciate it. Set me up how to appreciate a silent film properly, at least one that dramatic and that one that eerie. And as a result, coming back to watch the original Nosferatu was way better, because it just kind of gave me that understanding of like, okay, put myself in the position of being back in that chapel, of just like the feeling of the eeriness that this is supposed to evoke, as a modern film like the 2024 version is able to do with, you know, modern sound design and everything. And it just makes the experience so much more incredible. And it ends up making the whole of the original story feel more eldritch in a way. Like, I think the best way I can describe the original Orlok now that I think about it more is that he has a very eldritch presence.
Oh yeah.
And that it seems like he's omnipresent. Like he is truly inhuman. And at best, he is at best in the shape of a human at most.
Dude, and he's like 8 feet tall and 70 pounds.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's just like whenever I just was able to just kind of grip into this feeling of otherworldly eldritch feeling to this character, it just elevated everything and how made the experience so much more interesting. And I just could not get that the same way with the 2024 one. It was still dramatic. It still was enveloping with its atmosphere and everything, but it still felt like a lot of modern media has a desire to make their either villain or whatever central character they're meant to be focusing on such a big trademark thing that it ends up kind of taking away from their potential presence. Like, because, of course they had to do up everything for Skarsgård to be the character and everything had to be very accurate, but it ended up becoming kind of coming back around into not being as interesting as it could have been. Like, I felt like if they had reined in his presence or even even the amount of time he even maybe spoke to just like the fact that maybe he only ever see him in partial lighting and that sort of thing, it would have maybe done a bit more for me. But God, if I just don't love the original so much because of how they do it. And it is a tight race for me. It is a very, very tight race, but I got to give it to the 1922, just because it is the way it's able to evoke just the strange presence of this whole story, and Orlok specifically is just phenomenal to me. And I think, and again, I am very biased because I had that one experience, but it's a defining one, so I'm willing to take that.
No, that's also a good point. And I mean, I like what you're saying about the 2024 Orlok too, because to be fair, I think that when he's shown less near the beginning of the movie, and you're mostly relying on the shadows of that den that they're in, and it's mostly just him talking and Nicholas Holt's face. I think that Orlok is scariest in those moments. So
those moments,
I was hoping it was going to be mostly that.
Those moments and the moment where he kills the little girls, because it is just him silhouetted against the window. That Nicholas Holt's face is what makes him so terrifying in the beginning, because you can feel Thomas's terror. Nicholas Holt does such a good job with it that even though you may not be frightened, you're frightened because he is. Whereas when Anne walks into the room and he drops one of her daughters and then drops the other, and you see nothing but his shape, oh my God. That is a moment of true terror.
It's so scary when they actually have some restraint.
But honestly, I think, and I could be wrong here, in the end, when you see all of him in all of his disgusting glory, he's more pathetic than anything else. And there's a part of me that thinks that that's intentional. This is a creature.
I think it is too. He's also almost in like the fetal position.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
When Helen, whatever her name is, when the sun starts to rise and he lifts away and she pushes his head back to her breast and says more, it's like he's just gross. There's nothing
he's an incel.
Scary about this creature. And I think that's kind of the point, nowadays directors, writers, they want you to leave the theater as scared as the creature as you were the moment you walked in. But that's not the way horror used to be. It used to be, here's the resolution. Here's how we beat the thing, and here's why you don't need to be scared anymore. And Eggers went back to that.
Yeah. There's something to be respected in that.
There is.
But man, it's still so hard for me to just compare the two at a certain point, just because I think, like you said, it's hard to really beat the idea that, this was the original 1922 one was the vampire movie.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see why whenever you fully get into it. And it's such a tight race for me that it's almost frustrating how much I'm like, God, every part of me wants to say that 24 one is better because it's so, on a technical level, is so impressive and there's so much I love about it, but damn it if that creepy little dude just doesn't do it for me.
Creepy beanpole.
That creepy little beanpole.
Yeah. I hear where you guys are coming from. I'm just gonna have to disagree with you. Even when everything scared me, and the original Orlok never scared me. He was a weird guy, sure, but I never thought he was scary.
Fair. Like that should be fair. Yeah, I was genuinely creeped out with 2024 one. So if we're going by sheer like quality as a horror movie, 2024 wins hands down. Like that's easy.
And
but it's just for me, it's just like personal taste, I guess.
There's a small part of me that is always going to be just kind of pissed off about the plagiarism. That's just the English person in me. Rather than call up Stoker's estate and be like, hey, can we buy the rights to this to make a movie? Which probably would have done, considering the amount of time Stoker's Widow sold it later. They just we're just gonna read the book and write our own script based off it, and we're just gonna change the names, and it's all good. It's all good. We're gonna I'm just like, but I just can't respect it because of that. Like, such a simple thing, making a phone call, and you couldn't fucking do it. It's like the people who use AI to summarize things now. It's like, you just lost my respect from the beginning, and I don't care anymore.
To
be fair, Robert Eggers just, he stuck with that and ran with it, which he didn't have to, because Nosferatu the Vampire from 1972, 1979, I can't remember, the Werner Herzog.
I think it's 72.
Yeah, the Werner Herzog adaptation of
79,
Nosferatu.
Sorry.
It's a remake of the F.W. Murnau one, but he was like, fuck it, it's the story of Nosferatu, but I'm going to use all the Bram Stoker names. So, I mean, Eggers could have easily just done that because someone else had already done it, and that film did fairly well.
Yeah, but I feel like they're two different like, as much as I do not respect them for, like, stealing it and changing it just a little bit to try to get away with copyright infringement, they are two separate stories at this point. So, like, Eggers had to make a choice if he was going to do Dracula or he was going to do Nosferatu.
Yeah. I'm just saying there was a precedence to do Nosferatu with Dracula. So, I guess at that
also
point,
kind of,
it's personal. Go ahead.
I worry we've also kind of come into a weird situation where Dracula has kind of been so outdone in many ways, like, or at least overdone in certain ways, that you kind of have to do Nosferatu if you want to stick to the more original feeling of the story. Because my God, has Dracula been used in everything from straight horror to, like, well, Renfield.
So maybe this is a poor comparison, and you can tell me afterwards. Dracula is so overused and overdone that it's lost the essence of what it is. It's like Frankenstein. That's why I'm so excited for this new Frankenstein movie, because it seems to be the only one that actually read the fucking book. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, when you say you're doing Dracula, like, okay, there's 1,000 different things people can think. So saying you're doing Nosferatu
also Jekyll and Hyde
narrows your range. Like, with this new Frankenstein, if it is successful, and God, I hope it is, I hope it's as good as it seems to be, there's going to be a whole different vibe of what is Frankenstein. Because from the trailers and the reviews coming out, everything for this new Frankenstein seems to be remembering that Mary Shelley wrote it and that she was a romantic. Okay? This movie is... This book is sad, okay? It is heartbreaking. It is about struggling to be who you are when the thing that created you thinks you're disgusting, okay? And wants nothing to do with
original,
you. Like,
it's the original goth. Come on.
Exactly. Every Frankenstein adaptation has focused entirely on Victor and what he's about. And honestly, he is not a hero. He is a little piece of shit, whiny college dropout. I don't give a shit about him.
He's not even a doctor.
Okay? He spends half the book in bed because he thinks he's a failure, and rather than deal with his failures, he's like, I'm just gonna hide under the covers until it goes away. Like, so...
In mood.
Yeah. Not to turn this into a Frankenstein episode.
Yeah. Let me get back to my point. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just worried that Guillermo del Toro is not the right person to do it. But see, again, I don't want to judge before I see it. So
I think he's probably the only one that can do a monster justice as romantic. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, by saying he did Nosferatu, it narrowed the focus of what he was adapting. So as much as I hate Nosferatu as an idea of this stupid plagiarist bullshit, it does narrow the scope for a general audience.
Fair. It's nice to have something that's actually kind of going back to the heart of vampirism as a concept. And not just like, it's just about being immortal and hot. In this case, it's only one of those things.
I mean, the other route that you can go is to try to elaborate on other elements of the story, or try to increase your scope. Like for Dracula, for instance, instead of Nosferatu specifically, like that Voyage of the Dawn Treader movie that came out.
Forgot about that.
That wasn't a bad idea. It was a bad movie,
so
but it wasn't a bad idea.
Wait, the Last Voyage of the Demeter?
I was going to say, buddy,
I was thinking of the
Dawn
Narnia
Treader
thing,
is the Dawn Treader is the Narnia one.
That's what I meant.
Dawn Treader is a Chronicles of Narnia movie.
Yeah, I know.
I need that crossover. Oh my God. I'm sorry. That tickled me so much. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Yes.
Yes, but anyways, You can also go routes like that because, again, I think that was a good idea, just not executed well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is wild that is a thing that existed that should have been so much cooler than it was.
Yeah. But, hey, we've been going for a while. Do we want to do little questions, just conversation? I don't know if you have anything, Stu. I have a very brief, light one.
I had
real quick.
I had sort of one that I'm sure Steph will be infuriated of. It's basically to the effect of, if you could have another story that's plagiarizing another, if you could put together a film plagiarizing something else, what would it be?
Oh yes, Sucker Punch. Because not only could I make a ripoff of it, a plagiarized Sucker Punch in such a way that it doesn't have the stink of the original movie on it, but I could also make it better. Well, I wouldn't say better, but good. How about that?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's actually a very good. That's a good way of putting it. It's like, I forgot. Every time I think back on that movie, I'm like, man, that was such a cool. If anyone ever asked me my opinion about it, it would go something to the effect of, it's got this really interesting style going on to it. It does a lot to kind of break down a lot of like tropes and everything about like sexualization, all these different things. And then they'll ask me, oh, is it good? I'll just have to be like,
It's one of those movies that's a pretty decent idea, but it's also like, I don't think that Zack Snyder was the person to make this movie.
I don't think Zack Snyder is the person to make any movie.
Well, that's like 2022's Men. I was like, I don't think Alex Garland is the right person to be touching this topic. And also, what the fuck are you doing? That was like the worst movie of 2022, I swear.
Men.
I still haven't seen it, and I obviously don't care to.
Still haven't, still happy, as people say. But yeah, that was my answer, Sucker Punch.
Cool. Steph, do you have an answer?
I do, but I want you to go first.
Okay. My answer is I would love to do House of Leaves. I would want to do a plagiarized rip of House of Leaves into a movie just to see how fucking buck wild I can make it. Because my God, that book is already insane on its own.
Oh, that seems confusing. I don't know how you could properly adapt that into a media that isn't a book.
I think essentially so like one of the big framing devices in it is that it's meant to be a film critique of a found footage film that doesn't exist. I think I would just want to make the found footage movie that it's supposedly based on.
Oh.
Like I would just want to make the Novitzin record, but just like not just blatantly do its own thing. Just like, oh, my house is doing weird shit.
Oh, okay.
I'm basically
that is like a
last
voyage of the Demeter thing. It's like, oh, well, I'm elaborating on this other thing that was kind of the background of this guy.
The framing device that makes the whole book. It's like the reason it exists, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm essentially basically saying I want to make the Backrooms, but good. Because I got to be real, anything I ever see of people making of the Backrooms, the stupidest shit in the world.
Well, dude, the Backrooms was good for like 2 weeks. Then people added monsters to it.
Yeah. I think conceptually there's something to be said about like liminal spaces and strangeness about it. But I think the Backrooms as an idea is just a bit crap.
Oh, that's what you should do. You should make the Novitzin record, but add monsters to it.
Technically, there is monsters. Spoilers.
No,
but it's different.
I mean like creatures like actually running at the camera. I mean like actual monsters.
Yeah. So you want me to be a hack?
Yes. That's this whole exercise, isn't it?
I want to be a hack, but tasteful.
Okay. Tasteful hack. I don't know, Stu. I don't think that works.
Yeah, well, I'd be doing better than the fucking Backrooms, man. I just want to see what I could do. What I could do with the Novitzin record. Still need to finish that book.
Steph, you haven't even finished House of Leaves? I mean, I know it's hard. Massive, but
I'm most of the way through it, but it's also a weird thing to read when you're in a weird mental state, and it's just, I'm very often in a weird mental state, so...
So you guys remember that really bad movie we watched last year that we only watched because Tim Curry was supposed to be in it?
Stream?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I mean, he was in it, kinda, but...
To be fair, Stream is basically just plagiarizing off of, like, I don't know, would that be Battle Royale?
Everything is Battle Royale. Maybe? I don't know.
Well, they're killing other people.
When we watched that movie, we spent the entire time saying, oh my God, this would be so good if it were good.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to plagiarize. I want to make that movie good because it was so dumb and it could have been so good. But the
Yeah.
direction was horrible.
The direction was horrible. It had the budget of what looked to be like a slightly above average porn set.
And the scenes were weird. The scenes went on for too long, and I just think I could do it better.
There were random twists that felt like they weren't supposed to be twists.
Yeah, like, look, I'm just saying I could plagiarize the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to do.
Yeah. Would Jeffrey Combs still be involved?
I think so, simply because it's so recent that you kind of want to involve him.
Sure.
Would Tim Curry have an actual role?
I don't think I could convince him to do it.
Fair.
How did they convince him to do it?
Exactly.
I'm half convinced they just kind of wheeled him into a room at one point and were like, we're not letting you leave until you do this.
I think that's what they did for that Rocky Horror Picture Show remake that they did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know that's
knew
what
where
they
he
did
was.
Yeah. Just like, here's a card that you have to read off, my man.
There's a scene in that movie where Jane Eastwood screams next to him, and he's like brought back to reality for a second. He's like, where am I?
It's so funny to see. It's like, oh, wow, I'm alive.
Oh, but nice. Okay. Well, here's my question then. And this is, like I said, this is a lighter one, just a bit of an exercise in going back to a well, something that we used to do. Recommendations. I want, just for the spooky season that we're in, a recommendation of a vampire movie that is underrated, or just not a lot of people have seen, good or bad.
Oh, God.
It doesn't even have to be good.
I need to look up the name of it, but there was funny enough, a found footage movie about a dude. It's about a dude going on like a backpacking trip across Europe, but he's turning into a vampire at one point.
Oh. It's like American Werewolf in London, but a vampire instead.
Afflicted, from 2023.
Oh.
Sorry, 2013.
Okay.
Do you guys remember... sorry, Stu, continue.
No, that's kind of the extent of what I got. It is a found footage. Like I have a soft spot for found footage movies when they actually are doing something interesting with the concept. And this one was one that I watched, I think, half-heartedly at some point. I think it may have just been like on an HBO channel or something. But honestly, it stuck with me. So I think that's a good one.
So one that was bad but so fun, Ginger Snaps.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that for the first time like 2 years ago, and it's so fucking funny. I had so much fun with it. But actually, the first vampire movie I think I ever saw was called The Little Vampire.
I know that too.
Oh my gosh, it was a kids movie about a vampire and a little boy that moves to Scotland. Like, I remember loving it as a kid, and I don't think I've seen it in 20 years.
Yeah, that's one of those movies with disgusting shitboy Jonathan Lipnicki in it.
Oh, do we not like Jonathan Lipnicki?
Just by your description.
Mr. Stuart Little.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to remember. I was like, I know the name.
Dude, he's like ripped now. He could tear you in half.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But not me, though.
Steph, literally, I looked up just vampire movies in Google. One of the first ones under top vampire movie picks, The Little Vampire.
It's so good.
It's before Dracula and Sinners.
I don't remember it being that good.
Oh, no, it was definitely terrible, but I loved it. It has very bad reviews.
Speaking of things
Dracula Untold.
That are not good, Dracula Untold. About that one. Oh, my God.
That's a horrible one. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. That's a classic.
Yeah.
That's a modern classic.
Modern classic.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw out there. It's an '80s movie. Once Bitten. Not great, but it is interesting. Basically, it's like Lauren Hutton is this vampire that has been getting a hold of people throughout the centuries so that she can have a cult to sustain her life or whatever. And she goes after a young Jim Carrey in like his first movie role, probably.
What?
And
I For some reason, I briefly lived in this strange little universe where it was actually her going after actual Jim Carrey, and I was like, "Whoa, like that's
It's like
intense. Is this
being
a
John
story he had to
Malkovich.
tell?" Kind of, yeah. Or like this is a thing that like Jim Carrey talked about. Like this is a thing that happened to me once.
No, it's basically a teen sex comedy with vampires because the whole thing is that Jim Carrey wants to lose his virginity, but his girlfriend is like, not until marriage. So this vampire seduces him, you see, and she's grooming him. She's grooming him to basically abduct him into this cult. And it's not great, but it's an interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, especially for Jim Carrey, because not a lot of people talk about his career pre and Living Color.
There's a reason.
Okay.
Just saying. God, that's a hell of an elevator pitch. So Jim Carrey's trying to lose his virginity.
Yeah. Baby Jim Carrey wants to get his dick wet.
Wants to fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Steph, you got anything for us? Any questions or hypotheticals?
Hypothetical. If
Nothing wrong.
Yeah, would you rather be locked in a room with 22 or 24 Orlok?
no, if they hadn't cast Bill Skarsgård, who would you have wanted to be Orlok?
It would have been interesting to see an older actor do it. Like, well, honestly, Anthony Hopkins. That'd be interesting. Funny answer, Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
I just want to see where that one would go. Otherwise, God, I don't know. It's one of those. Oh shit. What's he played. He's the guy that. Damn it, I'm losing his name. He's the guy who is Doug something.
Doug
He's the guy with like the really long. Doug Jones. Yes,
that was
him.
my pick.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're on the same wavelength then.
But with the voice of David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I could also see Jonathan Banks.
Ooh.
I could see him.
Not bad.
If you want a slightly older gentleman.
Weirdly enough, I could also see someone like Colin Firth in a way. I think he could kind of do a creepy rendition.
Yeah.
I think he's flexible enough that I could see him doing it. It would be a very different kind of character, but I think it would still be good.
Danny DeVito as the rat. Danny DeVito
just
as
one big rat that's spreading the plague.
Oh
he has like a spray bottle that says plague on it.
Would it be better to do that or to do like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory situation where it's just a bunch of like just multiple hymns all running around like rats?
Dear God.
That'd make me sick.
Yeah.
Well, we've done enough on this, I think.
Yeah, I think we've gotten some good distance on this.
I'm going to go ahead and do socials now, if you don't mind.
Please do, sir.
Go ahead and subscribe to us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on the likes of Apple Podcast, Spreaker, Podbay, Podmatic, Stitcher. We're on YouTube, of course, but we're hosted by Spotify for podcasters. Go ahead and like, favorite, give us the thumbs up stars on all of those platforms. We really appreciate it. We have a perfect rating so far on Apple, so I'd like to keep it that way. Any of you 4 stars, get the fuck out. Send us an
Middle
email.
of the road bastards.
They remade it at gmail.com with thoughts on the episodes, what you like, what you didn't like about the show, your thoughts on fan casting for Nosferatu. If you have suggestions for potential future episodes, we just did one on Cinderella not too long ago for a listener, and that was a treat. And finally, go ahead and follow us on socials. We're currently on Blue Sky. They remade it. Bluesky.social, and follow us there for updates on when episodes of podcasts are going live, promo art and posters for things that we've been discussing / playing, reading, watching, etc. in the weeks between records, potential future episodes that we could possibly do, and full circle diagrams that I like to put together regarding folks that we've talked about on the show more than once. And that is it for socials.
Nice. I don't understand when people do non-committal rating. Why can't we just go back to thumbs up and thumbs down?
Siskel and Ebert knew. They saw the Matrix code.
They've seen through the weave of the world.
Oh God.
Yeah, but then they had to leave us. See, we had reviewers that were writing long essays. We had Gene Shalit trying to fucking confuse us with weird movie puns. No. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's all we need.
Have we become the youth of today? It's all about immediate gratification.
Yes!
As we sit here going on about fan casting of Nosferatu.
Well, if we're going to connect with the kids, we should do phantom tax casting of Brain Rot. No dip.
What?
As always, I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your host, Jacob.
And I'm your guest, Stephanie.
Have a wonderful holiday season.
I have seen things in this world that would have made Isaac Newton crawl back into his mother's womb. We have not become so much enlightened as we have been blinded by the gaseous light of science. I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled the angel in Penuel, and I tell you, if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists.